Hi! Today's mission: setting up the backend for our application. And to do this, we'll use Poetry, the virtual environment and package management tool, FastAPI, so our backend framework, and we also configure some linters using Ruff, pre-commit and Makefile to make our development easier. Let's start with Poetry. Think of it as the ultimate project manager, keeping our virtual environment and dependencies in check. You may ask, what is the virtual environment and why do we need it? So it is basically a folder that contains all the third-party libraries that your application requires to work correctly. Some examples of such libraries are FastAPI, Pydantic, Django, etc. Now, if you just open your terminal and install some library, it will be installed into global virtual environment. And in theory, you can use it for all your applications, but there is a problem with this. For example, let's say you have two applications. The first one requires library A to be less than v2, and another requires it to be greater than v4. Which version should we install to our global folder? Yep, we won't find one version that fits both cases here. And to solve this, it's recommended to create a separate folder or virtual environment for each application. And that's exactly how we will use Poetry. It's time to run some commands. First up, let's create separate folders for backend and frontend. Now we will use Poetry. One more thing, if you don't have it installed, please run pipx install Poetry command in your terminal. Or you may check other options in Poetry docs. I will leave the link in the description. And by the way, all the commands from the video will be in the description, so you may just copy and run them instead of retyping. Alright, I assume you installed Poetry, and now we can run our first command, Poetry init. It will create a pyproject.toml file for us, which will be automatically updated when we add or remove dependencies. If you ask the project name, you may choose arbitrary one. I'll go with pet project. Then we'll just click enter and write no a couple of times. Now we'll create a virtual environment. Command to do this is Poetry shell. But be careful, if you just run it, Poetry will set up a virtual environment in its own folder somewhere else in your system. If you prefer having it in the same application folder, I do prefer this, we first need to run one command to let Poetry know we want it locally. This command will generate a pyproject.toml file, which is a local configuration of the Poetry. I also like to leave a comment which command generated this. It's sometimes useful to just check this file instead of searching the command again. Alright, now we can run Poetry shell, and the virtual environment is created. Nice. Next up, FastAPI. FastAPI is Python framework for APIs. It's pretty much a cool kid in the block. It's fast, thanks to uvicorn, Pydantic and Starlit underneath. It's popular and it's just fun to work with, so we use it in our application. Now, let's see it in action. With Poetry on our side, it's super easy to add FastAPI to our project. All we have to do is to run Poetry at FastAPI and Poetry at uvicorn, web server for the framework. Now, let's check if it's working by creating a well-known Hello World API endpoint. Let's create a src folder and add init.py and main.py files there. Inside of it, we will import FastAPI and then create our endpoint. Now, let's run the server using uvicorn. And as we can see, it's running on localhost 8000. I open this URL in the browser, and then we'll go to /docs to see the documentation for our API. And as you can see, our created API endpoint is there. If I send a request by clicking execute, we'll get the hello world. Now let's update the message to check if it's really working. And yes, you can see it's working fine. Nice. The final step today will be setting up linters, and we will use Ruff for this. Ruff is a Python linter and code formatter. It's written in Rust and it's really fast compared to other tools. We will configure that it will run inside the pre-commit. What is the pre-commit? You can think of it as a list of actions or hooks that are performed when we want to commit our changes using git commit command. In our example, we will add Ruff to the pre-commit, so each time we will run git commit, pre-commit will automatically execute its hooks, Ruff in our case, to check the code quality. And if there are some issues, pre-commit will fail and the changes won't be committed. Something like this. I hope it's clear. It's just a list of actions that are performed on committing the changes. Besides this, we also leverage Makefile to be able to format our code without the need to execute git commit every time. First, let's install our linters using Poetry add command. We also indicate that this dependency is needed only for local development by setting this group dev part. Once it's installed, let's add linters configuration to pyproject.toml file. I have a simple config that I use everywhere. I won't go into details here. You may just copy this part from the GitHub, or you may also use the Ruff and MyPy documentation to set it your way. Now we'll create a pre-commit config YAML file to add the steps that pre-commit should run. To apply this configuration to pre-commit, we should run pre-commit install command. Now it's time to test the linters and make our code shine. In main.py, we will update the return type and also add some weird structure. Now let's add this file to the git stage and then execute pre-commit run all command. You can see that the code was formatted and MyPy is complaining about wrong return type, so everything is working fine. Awesome. Let's fix the return type, run this command, and as you can see, no issues now. Typing this command is quite long, and we can make it more convenient. For this, let's create a Makefile and add lint command there. It will be an alias to the command we ran previously. Now we can run the linters using simple make lint command. Let's test it in one example, and yep, it's working. Cool. That was it for today, folks. We set up our virtual environment, built a simple FastAPI application, and got our linters all sorted out. I hope it was useful for you. Don't forget, all the commands and today's code are in the description below. Thank you for hanging out with me today. See you in the next video. Until then, have a nice day. Bye.